I really believe that imagination is highly misunderstood. We only think that it's something that we make up in our heads and that's it. But maybe there's something deeper. Maybe there are different stages of imagination. And when we get really...
Welcome to Settling's Not an Option. I'm Adam Nebbs and I'm here with my co-host Amanda Stanhope. This show is for anyone out there who feels like they've settled for an unfulfilling life. Whether you've settled in a relationship, the work that you do, or how you feel about yourself, we're here to tell you that settling's not an option. If you're liking the show, please follow us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any feedback about the show or would like to recommend a topic, you can email us at cheerstonotsettling@gmail.com. Finally, to conclude the plug, if you feel so inclined, you can donate to us on Coffee, where we're aiming to buy some new audio equipment. Our guest today is the amazing Milena, who goes by the moniker Blue Monarch. I was introduced to her through another amazing guest, Gabby Kovalenko, and we all know how I feel about Gabby, after seeing them do some Instagram lives together. And immediately I thought, right, I need to speak to this person. She's like a spiritual boss. And Gabby kindly introduced us. So here we are. So just a bit of an introduction. Blue Monarch is a cybersecurity professional from France, can't even speak, who currently lives in the UK. She's passionate about science, spirituality, and philosophy because she believes that understanding the connections between them could help us uncover the secrets of the universe and become better connected with ourselves in the process. She is passionate about connecting with other curious minds in the hopes that working with others towards a common goal will change the world. She does this mostly through Instagram, but she's also creating an online platform to connect both with others and to provide education. Welcome to the show, Blue Monarch.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited. And I expect, just so you know, I expect Adam to geek out a lot in this episode.
It's going to happen a lot.
All right.
Which means that his mind is blown. That's what I'm geeking out. Like, you just blew my mind. So
I feel like this all the time too.
So be ready for that. So if we're both giving you a blank stare at some point, that's why.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yes, it's a good thing. So welcome. And I will get us started to kick off our first question, which I'm sure now, since everybody just learned that you go by the moniker of Blue Monarch, I'm sure everybody's wondering, what significance does that have to you?
Yeah, so I came up with the name Blue Monarch when I was looking for names for my Instagram account, and I had a little list of names I liked. Sure. And it just came to my head one day in the evening. No reason why, really. I just thought of Blue Monarch, and I really like the sound of it, and I also like the significance, like the symbolism of the monarch, of the butterfly, which is just about transformation, change, rebirth, and this is something that I really value, and it's something that, you know, I think life is all about transformation. It's all about rebirth. Right. So I love this symbolism. Blue is my favorite color, and it's also, I think it has pretty much the same kind of symbolism of transformation. So yeah, I just thought it was a cool name, and I didn't want to use my real name for privacy reasons. So yeah.
No, that's a great idea. Well, and it's awesome that it just came to you, because so often, I know we try too hard to come up with things, and if we just sit and let the answer come to us, it will come to us. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
It's the same thing for my online platform. I'm not going to say the name yet.
Okay.
Secret. But I spent so many weeks looking for a name, and I had like a huge list of names, of domain names, and they were all taken. And one day the name just came in my head, and it was just perfect.
That's awesome. Well, we're looking forward to hearing more about that, but I understand it's top secret at the moment. But kind of going along with that thought process then, so the Blue Monarch is a symbol of change and transformation. And I noticed that, I don't remember, I think it was on Instagram, that you described your mission as opening doors to new perspectives. So that kind of is along the same lines. But why did you pick that as your mission or as being important to you?
Simply because I think that being able to explore different perspectives, different viewpoints that you may not be familiar with, basically, is very important, because we live in a world that's really intolerant. We've seen intolerance for centuries, but now we see it even more with social media and with all the crazy things in the world.
Sure.
And I feel like people always need to take a side. They always need to have an opinion on everything, and sometimes they see the world in black and white. They forget that there are multiple shades of gray in between, and so that's what I'm trying to achieve with my Instagram account. I'm trying to show people that not everything is in black and white, and there are things worth considering in all of those very fascinating fields of science and spirituality. And so, yeah, I'm just, I think being able to explore different truths is really going to help us tackle intolerance. So yeah, that's I think very important. It's very important to me, and I also believe that for this kind of topic, there is a part of truth in all of these fields.
Yeah.
I think science is going to help us understand the universe around us, put it in technical terms that we can comprehend. It's going to help us understand aspects of spirituality, but we also need spirituality and philosophy to understand the essence of everything. And science actually relies on philosophy a lot. And so I think that we should explore all these topics, whether we disagree with it or not,
Right.
and see and seek, the truth in it. Look for the keys to the secrets of the universe. So yeah.
Sure. Well, I wonder, so you mentioned that science relies on philosophy. Could you explain that a little bit more? Because I've never thought of it that way before.
It's mostly physics, when it comes to finding, theories about how the universe operates. Most of the time it's actually based on philosophy. Like time, for example, time is mostly philosophical. We know very little about time. And so physicists are relying a lot on philosophy in order to come up with theories.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never knew that. I know you don't think of the two as being related, or I don't think of the two as being related.
Yeah.
Because I think of a philosopher as someone sitting in their office or something, or sitting in some beautiful place, having all these deep thoughts and writing them down. That's what I think of.
But I think you need this philosophical aspect to come up with theories, to come up with questions.
That's true. Yeah, you need that vision. So they have the vision, and then the scientists kind of prove out whether that vision could be possible or not.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that kind of leads into Adam's question.
I've got lots more questions.
Oh, you
now.
have tons of,
This always happens. It's like, where do I format them all? I just wanted to just make one comment as to what you said and how mature I think it is just the intersection of a bunch of different disciplines. And I spoke to Gabby about this a while ago, where like even in the work I'm doing now in workplace mental health, there's like, you've got the clinicians on one side, you've got the org psychs on another, you've got just all these different fields all saying like, we're right, this is the right way to approach it. And it wasn't until we, had a very mature person amongst us say, bring all of these disciplines together because they all lean on each other and they will give us the answers we need. There's still resistance there, as I suppose it is with science or philosophy or other disciplines where people want to be right. They're like, I want our, discipline to be right. And it's like, well, why do you have to take ownership of that? Why don't we just all work together? Because I'm pretty sure that's going to solve the problem. So I just think it's a very mature thing because even very seasoned scientists can't do that because they're like, no, I refuse. I want to be a petulant
Absolutely.
child.
Yeah. It's this need to feed up our ego. We need to always know. We need to know at the second. And that sometimes prevents us from seeing different perspectives and different theories worth considering. I've seen so many leading scientists rejecting promising theories about what the universe may be just because they didn't like the sound of it, and they didn't really have good arguments. They were just, really annoyed and almost insulting the other scientists in a personal way. And so yeah, we can all be biased, we can all be susceptible to our ego and belief system, regardless of our profession. So yeah, it's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's quite sad. Like, something I've been listening to a lot lately, and I've talked about him on the show a bit, is a guy by the name of Mark Gober, and he talks a lot. He wrote a book called An End to Upside Down Thinking, and in this book he basically looks at materialism and the basis of that, and how hard science, as you can call it, is very much based on a view of that. The material world exists outside of consciousness, not the other way around. But there's, as he says there, that's a flawed kind of foundation for science anyways, because how do we know that the material world exists outside of consciousness? We only perceive the material world through consciousness. So really, why don't we? And just hearing it, he talks about all these different very scientifically proven studies. Like, I only heard about this concept yesterday, but Six Sigma studies, which are like the most scientifically rigorous studies of things like precognition or telekinesis or just all sorts of things like that. But again, those who are kind of in power when it comes to hard science are like, no, we're not even entering into that domain of discussion, because it'll destroy the status quo, even though it could be great for us. Like, how awesome would it be if we all started to maybe expand our thinking? So I hadn't intended to ask that question, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah. What was the name of the book?
It's called
I just want to look it up.
An End to Upside Down Thinking.
Yeah. So
it was a big question, so I can totally park that, and we can go with you if you like.
No, it's fine. Just can you rephrase the question for me, please? Sorry.
Well, it's mainly, and I suppose it's to do with what you've kind of covered, is like just this resistance almost of those, maybe because of ego, in science, saying that even though there's a lot of like studies that prove things like, precognition and telekinesis and mind reading and all those things, they're proven, but hard science is saying, no, we don't want to look at that because that could change the whole world. And all of a sudden, those people that look up to science may start to question those that are currently kind of running the show, I guess. Yeah,
it's I think it has a lot to do with the ego, but I think there's also a lot of corruption in our world, of people who do not really want the public to be aware of the truth. I mean, we see that with the CIA, for example, because you talked about telekinesis and psychic abilities and all that stuff, and the CIA worked on plenty of projects on those things. As what we have, Project Stargate, MK Ultra, all that stuff that are actually, most of them are declassified, and you can go check them out on their website.
Oh, really?
So those are very Okay. I talked about Project Stargate and Project Voyager. Stargate is declassified, and you can go read all the files. There's millions of them, and it's all about. Let's see that. They basically can. Oh, it has a specific name. I can't remember it. It's something about vision. They can. It's remote vision. So they can. They can kind of teleport their minds somewhere else and say exactly what's going on.
Really?
And so, and the CIA spends millions of dollars on those projects. So they take that seriously. So if you think that these, secret agencies and take that so seriously and would be willing to spend so much money on it, there must be some part of truth in it. But I agree. It's, when it comes to science, you have a lot of leading scientists that, they spend their whole life working on something, and they're just not willing to let a theory destroy it completely. So they're not neutral anymore. Yeah, it's a real issue. It's a real issue because, I mean, nobody's neutral, but we need science to be neutral, but it's just not possible. Because as a human being, you cannot be neutral.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I wonder too if part of, I was just say, I wonder too if part of the reason, like the CIA, for example, kind of keeps things under wraps is because the masses cannot handle that kind of information.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there are
yeah.
certain people who can, but I do think if everybody was aware that some of these things existed, there could be like mass chaos too. So there's kind of that comes into play as well. So we can't have everybody do time traveling with their mind.
Right.
Just the three of us. Just the three of us.
Just the three of us. Yeah.
Maybe Gabby. We'll add Gabby in.
Yeah,
We'll add Gabby
of course. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Good way to get us back on track, because I just got too excited and I was like, I must So speaking of time travel,
yes.
There's a video that we will put in the show notes on time. So highly recommend the audience listen to that. But there's a specific section in there where, and I'm holding you accountable to it, because you start talking about time travel and the power of the mind. And then you're like, oh, sorry, I'm talking about time. I do intend to come back and do an episode on time travel and using the mind. So I'm just drawing on that. I'm just really curious, how do you, can you unpack further for us, like the idea of using the mind as a time travel machine? Because that sounds fascinating.
Yeah. So I came up with this theory just a couple of hours before recording the video. And, because in the video of time, I talk about different theories, and one of them is eternalism, or B theory, which is highly supported by physicists. And it basically implies that time will be present, at all time, everywhere around us. There's no such thing as the present, past, and the future. That's just how we interact with it in our dimension. Sure. But time would just be an infinite field of non-physical information. And so if that is the case, then maybe our mind, because I think the mind is way more powerful than we think, and maybe our mind could be able to connect to this frequency, to this field of information, and we could access, glimpses of the future through our imagination. I really believe that imagination is highly misunderstood. We only think that it's something that we make up in our heads and that's it. But maybe there's something deeper. Maybe there are different stages of imagination. And when we get really, attached to something that we imagine, and it's, recurring a lot, maybe there's actually something deeper. Maybe where we can connect to an alternate reality, to your past life. Maybe not past life, if there's no such thing as past, maybe it's just going on right now. Maybe we're able to connect to this. Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Right. Maybe we're able to connect to this field of information and get possibilities of what the future may be. Because if everything is possible, and maybe we can, access some of these possibilities, and some of them might turn out. Can you see me?
No. Yeah. Well, there we go.
Can you hear
me? We could still hear you, so that's why I didn't interrupt and let you know, because we could still hear you. But you got frozen for a second there, but
right. Oh yeah, and it's just when it comes to the past, we would be able to relive it through our memories. So I think the mind is really powerful and has abilities that we are not aware of, that we can't really wrap our minds around yet.
Right.
So I just find that really fascinating.
Well, it reminds me of, and I'm not good at pointing out names and stuff like Adam is, so I don't remember who said this or what, but I watched a TED Talk once with this guy, and he was talking about how everything, like nothing really exists except for in our minds, or we create what we see, or and it's hard to explain and hard to comprehend because it's like, okay, so my computer screen looks the way it does because my mind thinks that's how it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
And it's really just like this, I don't know, a bunch of atoms or molecules or I don't know what floating around.
Oh my God, yeah.
And like that reminded me of what you were talking about. And it's just really, and I think when you're talking about imagination, that's a huge part of imagination that people don't think of. It's like we're really imagining everything that we see and hear, and which is, yeah, kind of mind blowing.
So
Could freak some people out, but
yeah, it's so funny because I wrote something like this about a year ago. I just felt really inspired, and I wrote that on my phone that, you know, the physical world around us appears the way it does because of our mind, because we just programmed a certain way.
Yep.
And if we were able to get out of this matrix, of this bubble, then maybe we could, you know, change the way it looks. And I always picture the spoon scene in the Matrix, in the movies, where we would be able to do amazing. We would be able to interact directly with it. Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yep.
So another idea I always find, like, in my mind when I've got a question that formulates, it's like very coherent in my mind, but when I spit it out, it might not be coherent. So bear with me, but hopefully it'll work. So to that point, right? So like I was thinking one day about that quantum mechanics kind of view of, you know, when you observe someone, the waveform collapses and then they come into existence. And so like one day I'm like at home by myself, freaking out a little bit because I'm like, no one else exists right now. It's just me. Like, and then like I started to, yeah, I'm a bit weird. But then like I came home and then I started thinking about people. So for example, people that aren't, you know, in this physical plane anymore. And I started thinking about them and I could really picture them in my mind very clearly. And then so I started to be like, okay, so like that concept of you observe someone and then they exist, but until then they're just in flux. And then all I could think about was, okay, well, what about those we've lost? I feel like I'm keeping them alive, I guess, in my mind. And it's quite comforting in a way because I'm like, they're just in flux elsewhere. I can't see them right now, but I can in my mind. So I don't know what your thoughts on that are, but it just made me feel comfortable, like, and happy, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, I think the more we put, you know, energy into something, the more it exists. And I took this example when when I was having you know, the live with Gabby. I took the example of Santa Claus and the fact that millions of kids put so much energy into this character every year, you know, for every generation. And even though he doesn't exist in our world, in our physical world, then the energy of it, you know, the information of it must exist somewhere. So yeah, I think that by thinking that something really exists, you're actually making it exist, maybe not in our reality, but somewhere else in the universe, because your thoughts presumably belong to the rest of the universe. Because, you know, there's no such thing as separation, as isolation. We all belong to the universe. So our thoughts must belong to it too. Therefore, they must exist in a way.
Brilliant. See, first geek moment, Amanda. Love it.
I think we were both doing it at the same time.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. Cool.
But you know what it reminds me of? Because there's so many movies, and I'm thinking of Elf. Like, have you guys seen Elf with Will Ferrell?
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen it. I know it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
But, and there's another movie too, or a couple of other Christmas movies, like these Christmas movies. Anyway, my point is that in order for Santa's sleigh to work, everybody has to believe in him. And when people stop believing in him, his sleigh doesn't work anymore. So it just, that's what I was thinking when you said that. But it's so true that it's, that we as a community can bring something into being that never existed before, or maybe doesn't exist on the normal plane of thought. But
there's an episode of Doctor Who as well where that happens, where everyone in the world at the same time says his name, another geek moment. But you
I
know,
was
like,
gonna say, yeah, now you really
everyone's
showed
like-
how geeky you are with Dr.
but yeah, that's another thing. And the whole concept of the episode is everyone gives him energy and power by all uniting and combining at the same time. So yeah, just had to put a little Doctor Who plug in there. Sorry, guys.
It has to be true because it's in such classic cinematography here. Whatever. Yeah.
But imagine all those stories, you know, all those great stories like The Lord of the Rings, for example, and so many people just love this. I'm one of them. And imagine that by thinking that it exists, by putting so much energy into it, you're actually making it exist.
Yeah.
In an alternate reality. That's just amazing. I love this stuff.
So cool. Yes, that's awesome.
It makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, it seems highly possible to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the next question's yours, Amanda.
Is it me? Okay.
The Carl Sagan quote. Yep.
I don't want to get in the way you're geeking out, so. But yeah, no, I did hear you mention this quote once, and I don't know what video it was in, but you mentioned a quote from Carl Sagan, and I just wanted to get your take on it because it's a very cool quote. But the quote is, "If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe." And it kind of goes along with what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. But why does that quote resonate with you?
Well, first of all, I just love it because I think there's such a deep connotation to it that a lot of people missed. Well, he basically says that in order to to make an apple pie from scratch, you must invent the universe. So you need a universe, you need a galaxy, you need a planet, an apple tree, atoms.
Yeah.
And so that's the most common interpretation of this quote. But I think there's something else. I like the fact that he used invent. You must invent the universe. He didn't say you must. He didn't say you need a universe. You must invent it. And invent it is all about imagination again. It's all about creating it in your head. And so maybe the universe had to go through this process to create everything that we now know. Mm-hmm. And in the video where I mentioned this, I was also saying that in our world, in order to come up with a new invention, we have to first imagine it. We have to conceptualize it in our heads and then create it. And maybe the universe had to go through the same process. Yeah. It was just a concept at first, and then it needed a little bit more than a concept. So it just created the physical world and all the consciousnesses that we are a part of to experience itself. So I think I love this quote. I really love this quote. I think it's so true. And there are so many scientists and philosophers that also really thought that the universe was actually a consciousness and had an intelligent mind, like David Bohm or Max Planck, Tesla. They all thought that. So it's very interesting. And another thing that I found really interesting too, that I also said, I love this, is the fact that in our body, our cells, they all respond to a plan. They all are programmed a certain way, so they can do their work. The moment they stop doing their work, it just leads to disease. And maybe because it is exchanging information with the brain, maybe it's the same case for the world around us. All the particles that make up our environment, they might, respond to a mind, to source consciousness. Yeah. Otherwise, the world as we know it would be completely random, right? So it has, the particles have to hold a specific type of information. They have to effectuate certain tasks. So I think it's a very interesting thought.
Well, equating it to the body and how disease will start to grow, or however you want to say it, if your cells and if your body is not working according to plan. Well, you think of that in diseases of society, or even diseases of the environment. All come about because we get in the way and we interrupt the program that they're supposed to be running. Well, especially nature. Like if we didn't get in the way of nature, nature would just take over. and nature knows how to take care of itself. And we've talked about that before, but so that definitely makes a lot of sense to me, that, or you can see that connection, that just interrupting the patterns and the programs that are supposed to be there is what leads to disease.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's huge.
Yeah, I think I've seen that on a book of alchemy. It was a very good book, and the guy, it was an autobiography of an alchemist, a French alchemist, and he was saying that he was saying that disease is basically when your cells cannot share information, or not the proper type of information anymore. So we need to then he created something called the tram, which is something French, la trame. And so it's a practice where you basically allow your emotions that are blocking your energy to just flow. And that would basically just allow the information in your body to flow naturally.
Right.
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, you think if you could expand that out to the world, where we were connecting with the consciousness or the universe instead of blocking the energy, there you go. We'd be in paradise, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. I think you're right, though. I think so often we resist things that, like, almost the factory settings of the world, whether it's the body or like, I even just think about, say, my 5-year-old, and I've talked about her a lot. She's like my little spiritual guide because she's so much wiser than I am. And it's because, like, I feel like at that age, she's just like, she's in that factory setting. And slowly what I'm trying not to do is pile too much of these really bad programs into it, like that were programmed into me and all of us, that completely corrupt the program, which is why I think almost, so many people are struggling today, or, need to go through psychotherapy or on medications and things, because over the years we've just like completely corrupted ourselves, I guess, like a piece of technology with all of these programs that have come in, and it just overwhelms the system. And in a way, like, I feel like it's almost, you're just removing all of that, getting back to your factory setting, and then you're happy. Like, you don't need all this crap, I guess, that you're kind of told over the years by many people and mass media. Like, it's when you peel all that back, all of a sudden you're just like, oh, okay, cool. But, like, we get so lost along the way. Like, we almost just need to stay in that kind of childlike state. And I think the world would be a much happier place.
Definitely. We just lose this connection with ourselves by growing up. We're just constantly looking outside, instead of looking inside of us, just taking pills for everything and medication, and we're not actually, curing the actual issue. So
We're covering the big topics today.
What's that? Sorry.
We're covering the big topics today.
Well, I was just thinking that kind of goes into your mindfulness question.
Nice segue. I like it.
Back on track today.
Like, keep on track, Adam. Okay. So it was another video I watched on mindfulness. Again, really great introduction, I think. It's very visual and would appeal to a lot of people, I think, at whatever level you are from a mindfulness perspective. But I was just wondering if you could summarize some of the tips in that video, to help people who are maybe starting off with trying to figure out how to be mindful, I guess.
Yes. Well, what I did for this mindfulness video is to use our 5 senses, including a 6th one, which in this case was our inner feelings. And so it's basically whatever you do, actually. I took example on, when you walk outside in nature, because, for the sake of the video, but whenever you feel like you need it, take some time to go through each of your senses. What can you see? Maybe look at the things that you haven't looked at before. It's incredible, all the things that are around you that you've never really noticed. So take some time to notice all of these things, and take some time to listen to it, to feel, to notice how you feel on the physical level, on the mental level, and emotional level. If you're eating something, then take some time to notice how it tastes, and visualize what you're eating at the same time, all the ingredients that you're eating, and be grateful for every single one of them. I love mindfulness because it really helps in reconnecting with yourself and with the present moment as well. And it's very, like you said, it's very general, it's very universal. You don't need to believe something specific to practice mindfulness. It's like meditation, the sort of meditation. And yeah, focusing on your senses really helps you ground into the present moment as you are increasing your focus on one thing. Yeah, I think mindfulness is very important because, you know, we're always thinking about the future. You know, I've noticed my thoughts too, and all the time I'm like, oh, I would love to be there, I would love to travel. I'm constantly projecting myself in the future or somewhere else, and I just don't enjoy what's around me. And there's actually so much beauty around me, so much uniqueness. Everything is unique. Even, you know, the smallest rock is unique and is probably millions of years old, had to go through a lot, has a lot of energy, has a lot of history. So maybe if you could see the uniqueness and the beauty of each little thing, that just would have a massive impact on your mood and on the way you see the world. Yeah. So I think mindfulness is really powerful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that would help too if it's changing how you're viewing the world and interacting with yourself. Again, that seems like that would make the energy flow better, so that you can connect with the universe more effectively or in the proper way.
Definitely. Yes, you pay more attention like this. It's just crazy. Anytime I practice mindfulness, it just changes my mood instantly. Yeah, because we're always thinking about something. We're always distracted by social media constantly, and we're not actually living. We're not actually enjoying what's around us. Yeah.
Very true. I see it a lot, like people just rushing around everywhere. Like we've almost equated busyness with you're succeeding in the world, which is just madness in my opinion. But it is true. Like I think if you sit back, I like where I sit at home because I study from home. And where I'm sitting is I just notice butterflies fly by all day. And there's another tree there that was just like bee central. There was a million billion bees in the tree, not that many. But like it's nice just observing that. Like, and I don't think I've ever observed and seen as many butterflies as I have since kind of trying to practice being more mindful. And I almost see them when I need them, right? So it's like if I'm getting really distracted or bogged down in something, it's like a butterfly seems to come past. And it's like, for me, it's a wake-up call, like the universe being like, hey, remember what life's about, what about this thing you're worrying about. So like, but people just seem to miss the butterflies. So yeah, I don't know.
That's awesome. We're getting that on a t-shirt. People seem to miss the butterflies. Yes. We have the butterfly right here, so we're good.
Yes. It's so true. Yeah.
So I've got another question in the vein of mindfulness. So Amanda sent me a video a while ago from Ryan Holiday, who I think he goes by the moniker The Daily Stoic. Maybe. Okay. Yep. And so he had a very different take on mindfulness and how there's a lot of focus on meditation in particular, but he talked about a different approach being journaling and how that could appeal to some people. So I just wondered what your thoughts were, whether you needed to follow a meditative practice or whether you can be mindful through journaling. What your thoughts on that might be?
Yeah, It's very interesting. I don't really journal that much, but I know that a lot of people who do, and I know that it can really help. I think journaling can be really helpful and helps me when I have to to write a list down of goals I want to achieve and how to get to those goals. I think it's something that I always advise people to do whenever they feel a bit lost. They don't know what they want to do. And I just say, write down all the things you like, or all your skills, for example, how we can take advantage of those skills. And it just helps you in having a clearer mind to see those things. Because sometimes we have a messy head, we have so many thoughts. So I think journaling is great on this point. I've seen people journaling, at the end of the day to just get things off their chests, or journaling at the beginning of the day. I don't do it personally because it's just not my thing. That's it. It's just not my thing. I don't have the patience to sit down and write. I'd rather just say it out loud.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say I think you journal through your videos, maybe.
Yeah.
Form of journaling. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting technique, and I know it's helping a lot of people. Yeah, and focusing on what you're writing is definitely a kind of mindfulness. You just just focusing on one thing and focusing on yourself, and yeah.
I was thinking once you brain dump all this stuff out of your head, then you can observe the butterflies because you don't have all these thoughts.
Yes, absolutely.
Floating around. Yeah.
Do you guys journal?
I can't do it. Yeah, I don't have the patience either. It just really annoys me. So yeah.
Well, I think too we make it too hard. Like, okay, so journaling could be writing down 2 words, like, or 3 words, like Adam rules, like, like whatever's on your mind. You could just, it doesn't have to, like, people think we try to make everything too perfect, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
That's kind of a disease of our mind as well, because that gets in the way of so many things. But
I agree.
But so to me, I don't really practice journaling myself either, although I write a lot. But and so that's my form of journaling, but it's not like a free form journal. And that is something I would like to start, because I do think that would help. If it was just free form, or even doodling, like the Ryan Holiday, he mentions too, like even doodling or that can be journaling. It's like, it's just somehow getting thoughts out of your mind is really all it is. But no, I write a lot, but no, I don't journal either, technically. So maybe that's a challenge for all of us. A challenge for all of us to give it a try.
Yes. But I feel like, every time I want to journal, I feel like I have to do it the traditional way, with a proper diary. And I just can't write anymore, right? I'm too used to computer, I can't do it.
Yeah, I know.
It's absolutely horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was the same. I'd find like I'd try and write a bunch of gratitudes every day, and I'd almost run out of gratitudes. I'd be like, what am I grateful for? The same thing as yesterday. And then I was like, I'm not grateful if it's a burden to me to be, you're like, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to scratch this. This is not working. I'll do it some other way,
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. So slightly different tacks. I want to talk to you about sound healing. So another video that I really enjoyed. And what I'm specifically interested in, because I've always really enjoyed music, is just frequency. So you talk in there about, certain frequencies and hertz and things like that. So it's a 2-part question. The first part would be around, why certain people connect with certain frequencies. So it could be meditative music and why we select certain music for that. The second part would just be how memories attach themselves or kind of feelings attach themselves to certain pieces of music for people and why they resonate maybe with that. So sorry to hit you with two questions.
It's fine. It's a very good question. And it's just something that I've always wondered, because like you, I'm also very sensitive to music, like a lot of people too. And there's a lot of music that I resonate with on a very deep level that I can't really explain. And so it's just something that I've always had in my mind. I'm like, do these music actually remind me of something? And do they help me connect with somewhere else? You know?
Right.
And so when it comes to meditation in a more spiritual practice, you know, each chakra is associated with a frequency, like 963 hertz, for example, will be a crown chakra. And so who knows exactly why, but that's just the way it is. And and presumably all these frequencies will be able to help us maybe open up some kind of portals, maybe to channel something, like channel confidence, channel, you know, love, divine love.
Yeah.
Which is something very interesting, I think. And when it comes to, you know, to us as individuals, you know, connecting to a specific kind of music, this is just so interesting. I don't exactly know, because, you know, I experience this all the time. I have so many musics on my playlist where, you know, especially soundtracks, and they transport me somewhere else. I feel like, it's just making me connect to an alternate universe or something. And who knows, maybe it does. Maybe it helps you channel things and connect to a specific frequency. But I really believe that sound is one of the biggest keys to understanding the universe, because sound healing is where science and spirituality meet.
Okay.
It's such a fascinating topic. Now we have, you know, sound healing has always been really important in spirituality, but now we have so many scientific and medical studies showing the benefits of sound on the body, on the mind. And so maybe, you know, maybe sound goes actually way deeper than we think.
Yeah.
Because we can observe that sound waves can, you know, change our cognitive state, our brain waves from gamma to theta to beta. It can just change it according to what frequency we're listening to. And then it can release specific hormones, which can make us go through, you know, different emotions. Mm-hmm. So that's what we can observe with sound, which is something that's very powerful. So imagine all the things that we cannot observe yet.
Right.
The power of sound. And sound is just a vibration, right? And everything is a vibration. You know, atoms are constantly vibrating. So it's because it operates on a vibrational level and on frequencies. I think it's one of the biggest keys to the secrets of the universe. I really believe that. So I think that.
Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've never thought of it that way, but when you say that, that does make a lot of sense. When you think that everything is vibrating, and that's what sound is.
Yeah. And you know, you have loads of thinkers through the time that were saying that that sounds can be described by mathematics, by geometry, like Pythagoras was saying that.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, maybe that's true. I think there's something really deep about sound that we haven't figured out yet.
So they are using like sound treatments. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but in the hard sciences, I guess I would say they're starting to use sound treatments. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. In some hospitals now, they're using sound healing therapies. You can call it that too.
Yeah.
Along with traditional therapies to relieve pain, because they've noticed that certain frequencies certain frequencies can help relieve pain. For example, after spinal surgery, we have tons, like hundreds of studies showing the benefits of sound. It's absolutely crazy. It can, you know, boost your creativity, your memory, your concentration. It can boost your immune system, improve your sleep, prevent Alzheimer's or dementia. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. You have thoughts, Adam?
Lots of thoughts. It's trying to coherently put them in.
We're kind of getting to the end of our time, so I thought
we should, yeah. If I ask too many more questions,
I know, but I didn't want to just jump over you. So,
no.
so we both have kind of our wrap-up questions for you, I guess, the big ones.
Yes.
Adam will hit you with the biggest one, but mine is, what would be your number one piece of advice to someone for finding inner peace? Where should they start?
I think I should start by trying to surrender to the fact that, you know, sometimes we tend to be control freaks. We want to control everything.
Right.
And we want to sometimes even control people and how they think. When we are trying to help somebody we care about, we have to understand that if this person cannot be helped, doesn't want to be helped,
Yeah, right.
There's nothing you can do. And so sometimes we tend to struggle to let go. We want to control everything. And I think one of the biggest ways to attain inner peace is to understand that you have a limited impact on the world around you. You have a limited impact on the people around you. And, you know, in an interaction, when you are interacting with somebody, it's 50-50, right? You are 50% responsible for what you say, what you do, and they're 50% responsible for how they interpret it, how they react to it. And so, therefore, you have limited impact on them. And you should understand that and accept this, and accept that if it doesn't go as planned, it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. You've done your best. So letting this go is, I think, is a great way to attain inner peace. What else? Yeah, I think, to come back to the fact that we cannot control external events. There will always be hard things happening to everybody, you know. Shit happens, and there's not much we can do about that. But we can choose how to react to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, will you decide to see these events as something terrible, as an obstacle, or will you decide to see it as an opportunity to learn something new and to get stronger and to get more mature or wiser?
Yep.
And so once you get that you are the one in control, you are the one in control of yourself, of your feelings and thoughts. I think a lot of things will change.
Absolutely. Yes. No, I love that. Yeah, the letting go of control. That's huge. Yeah. No, I definitely.
It's very hard. 100%. Very, very hard.
Oh yeah. Yes, it is. Well, in the vein of controlling this episode, I'll turn it over to Adam for the last question.
I'm so impressed. You've been so on point with the time, so thank you. So last question, easy one to wrap it up. And I asked Gabby this too. So why are we here? Like, why? What's the meaning of life?
Yeah.
The big question.
It's a very big question. Oh wow. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's an honest answer. I mean, really.
I personally believe that we are here to create, to experience first, but to also create, to evolve, to transform. I think those are the biggest words to remember, because I believe that there's a source consciousness, there's a source energy that we're all a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the very essence of this source energy, of this source consciousness, is creation. It's constantly creating itself. It's constantly wanting to turn concept into experience, like we said earlier. And in the process, it has to evolve, it has to transform itself. And so I think that's why we're here for too. We're here to transform ourselves through experience, and to evolve in the process, and to create as well, because we are creators in our nature. We create our own reality.
Yeah.
And so to make it short, to answer this question, yeah, very, very big question. I think that's why we're here for. We just get to experience and evolve, and life is just an adventure. And yeah.
So kind
That
of
is a
to create
fantastic answer.
to create the universe, going back to the quote who was that from? Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan quote. Yeah, it kind of comes right back around to that. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
I love that. There you go, guys. We've solved the
there it
riddle
is.
of the universe. Thank you very much. I'll throw to you, Amanda, to close out the show.
Sure. Did you have any final thoughts, Blue Monarch, before we sign off here, or?
Not really. I have plenty of thoughts right now.
Well, no, I know. Anything you wanted to share before we head out?
Well, I'm very grateful to have had this great talk with you.
Well, thank you.
We are as well. 10:30 now, at 10:30 p.m.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's why we're getting off here.
It was a really good talk.
No, it was great. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. And I didn't think as well, if people want to find more of your content, where can they go?
They can go on my Instagram, Blue Monarch, YouTube as well, Blue Monarch. I'm not too present on YouTube right now because I'm working on other things. I'm working on the platform, but that's where they can find me for the moment.
Perfect. And I'll get links to those in the description for sure. So, all right. So once again, thank you so much, Blue Monarch, for meeting with us and taking the time out of your day to do this. We really enjoyed it. And
thank you.
We got another answer to why are we here? That's awesome. So I'll close out the show just by putting our final plugs in. Remember to do all the things that help us get into the minds of the algorithm gods. So like, comment, share, all this good stuff. You can do that on YouTube, not Instagram. Now I'm thinking of Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and of course you can give us as little as $1 to help us keep this thing going over on Coffee, and we'll have links to all that in the description below. So go ahead and check that out. And until next time, we'll say cheers to not settling.
Cheers to not settling. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you.